Good morning, we'll say.
Good morning, Grand Rising.
We're going to start with our opening song. Yeah, we're going to stand like a people. I want to see if I can get most of the people here in the congregation to stand up with me, and the words to the song are, can you pass the words to the song? All right. Good morning to all of you watching us on Zoom, and to you in the house. All right, here we go. Yeah. It's time to stand like a people. You know it's time to stand like a people today. It's time to stand like a people. Stand up and say
Good morning, Wosay. Good afternoon, Wosay. Wherever you find yourself on this fine Sunday morning. We're here in Oakland, California.
Yes.
So I hope things are good wherever you're at.
Yes.
Right. The Wosay community is a church of the way. The way is my aunt. My aunt is truth, justice, righteousness, level, balance, reciprocity. We believe the teachings of our elders and our ancestors that the Creator God created the universe and all that lies within it, and that He imparted part of the divine spark in each and every one of us, giving us the right and the responsibility to develop and promote justice and harmony in all humankind. So again, welcome to the Wosay community. My name is Scott Gabazi. I'll be doing some other things, but I'll also be doing some of the coordinating today. And it's a very, you're welcome, sister. And we have a very, I'm looking at the program, and so we have a very wonderful program set up for you all today. And so I hope that you will become engaged and enjoy it. And so we just had the Stanlaka people from the Sounds of Maat and the people here in the audience. Very spirited and very uplifting.
Yes.
And, you know, for years, we always began our services with that song.
Yes.
And it sets the stage and it sets the mentality and it makes the statement as to who we are. We're the Wosay community. All right. Thank you, Mama Connie, for leading us in the circle prayer and for the voices that were raised. We're asking that those requests, that those prayers be granted if it is the will of the one. So we've had our circle prayer, we've had our libations and invited the ancestors in, and their spirits are with us. As I look around the room, their spirits are with us. And so we want to continue with a affirmation. And the affirmation this morning will be led by Brother Iman. And Brother Iman, for some times now, for the last several years, has been leading a book discussion group. And I've been privileged to participate in many of those, and we've discussed several books over the last couple of years, and that's been very rewarding. So I encourage you all that if you have the opportunity to check in on the book discussion as well. So, Brother Desmond, and if we could have the affirmations posted.
Thank you, good Baba Takabazi, Grand Rising, Wosay community.
Grand Rising.
Good to see everyone today. And I'm going to lead us into the affirmation. And please repeat after me. Oh, and make sure you guys can hear me. Yes?
You don't want us to repeat.
Okay. Okay, so I'm going to be looking at the screen because I'll have this memorized. If everyone could stand up as we read, as I read it. We will know God's truth to be free and self-determined.
Creator, help us to remember humanity's glory and suffering of our ancestors, and to honor the struggles of our elders.
Let us strive to bring new vision and life to our people. Let there be peace and harmony among us.
Let us be loving, sharing, and creative. Let us work, study, and listen, so we may learn, teach, and cultivate self-reliance.
Grant us power, O Holy One,
Ashe.
as we struggle to resurrect our hearts and our homeland.
We will raise our children according to the needs of our nation, with discipline, patience, devotion, and courage. We will strive to be living models of the new direction of our people.
We are an African people. We are the children of God. Ashe. Ashe. Amen.
Thank you, Brother Desmond, for that. And so now we're going to switch to Minister Imhotep for announcements. Okay, so Minister Imhotep, if you have your announcements, and if anyone here in the audience as well have some announcement, you can start to prepare those as Minister Imhotep completes his. There you go. I can hear you. Go ahead, Minister.
What if he can hear us?
I can hear you. I just can't find my,
Oh, okay.
how I can share
Yeah,
it.
can't find the announcements. Huh?
Oh, here, I found it. I got it.
All right, good.
I think this is it. All right, finally. Okay. So we'd like for you to join us tomorrow and on Fridays from 5:30 to 6 a.m. in the morning. Join us for our intercessory prayer for our Wose family, Mondays and Fridays. And this flyer will be put in the announcements, and it gives you the number. It's 862-7044-3742. And this Wednesday, we're going to have a special guest, In Yen Yensi, and she's going to be talking about how the ancient Kemetic language was actually spoken. She's done a lot of research, and we're really looking forward to her coming. We put this in the chat, and so I hope that everyone will be able to attend. Also, December 13th through 21st, the Alchemy of Inner Empowerment Retreat is going to be in Costa Rica. It's going to be led by Brother Wayne Chandler, and we're putting that in the chat as well. Also, on Sunday, October 13th, the 29th annual Ma'afa commemoration will be happening beginning at 6 in the morning, and it's going to be at Ocean Beach in San Francisco, Fulton, and the Great Highway. On October 19th, we're having Heal the Community Tour poetry and book signing event. And it's going to be at 2251 at the African Market. And it's going to be from 1 to 4. Getting closer, the Women of Wose will be meeting Wednesday, October 16th for the Women of Wose. And I think that's it. Okay. All right. Are there any other announcements?
I just one quick announcement from here.
It's on.
Next Sunday, as you know, we have live services here every first and third Sunday, and next Sunday is the fourth Sunday, so the service will be Zoom only. But the doors of this building will be open. Mama Zarita will be delivering the message next week live from here, and so we'd like for everybody to come out and show her love and support, and just be here as she delivers the message from live in Oakland. Okay, and that's it for us.
Grand Rising Rose. Also, I want to announce in part, because we don't have all the information, but October the 12th, the second Saturday of the month, we are planning a presentation on holistic healing. One of the presenters is a guest here behind you, Brother Wushi Young, who is going to be presenting things. We're going to have everything from healing through movement, healing through sound. We have a whole presentation where we're going to be presenting with the label alternatives to healing, but actually they're very organic to us as African people. So he is going to be one of the lead presenters. He's here today as a guest. Please, I want you to talk to him and speak to him afterwards to let him know, one, that he's welcome, but two, also, he will give you a little gist of the type of healing services that he provides. Ashe?
Okay.
You want to take him? Does he want to say something?
You want to speak? October 12th.
I will email out
Okay.
the details before.
So lots of things going on with the Wolsey Community Center. We don't just gather here on Sundays and that's the end of it. But throughout the week, Minister Imhotep's Black Knowledge Matters programs has been running for years. Always very informative subjects, things that we can't necessarily cover everything in one day. So you have to follow some of the other programs that we also are putting on. Minister Malley's wellness and healing program. I know he's talked about it for some time, so that is finally coming together, and that's a good thing. And so now I think we wanna hear some music. You guys want to hear from the sounds of my aunt? Okay, the sounds of my aunt.
What am I checking for?
Come on.
A date correction. A date correction?
was my adventure, and my adventure, and my adventure.
Yeah.
All right now, break it down. Thank you, sounds of my heart.
Sound? The sounds of mine. Let's hear it for the sounds of mine.
Yes, sir. I was the original.
I don't know how it sounded on Zoom, but we had a little groove going.
Great. Great. I see.
So we
Sounds
come to a time in our service that we call our historical tribute. It's a time that we here at Will Say take out each and every Sunday to pay honor, to pay homage, to pay tribute to some significant, not necessarily famous, but significant person, place, event, and Brother Manuel taught me to say, or organization in our history, right? And I have the honor of coordinating the tributes and introducing the people who give the tributes. And I want to say that there are a few people who I look forward to all of the tributes, but there are a few people that I really look forward to giving their presentation. Mama Keisha is one. She was supposed to be here this morning, but she's out of town. There's a couple more that are in the back. Baba Jeff in the back gives great tributes. My brother Bama Daly's here, he gives great tributes. But this brother that I'm about to present now gives outstanding tributes, has a history of giving great tributes. He hasn't done one in a while, so it's good to have you back, Brother John. I see you on the screen. So from Sacramento, Brother John Jackson.
All right.
Yeah.
Greetings of peace and love and blessing and light to you all.
Uncle
And I
Johnson.
come today from the mothership Wakanda up in the sky. Anyway, before I start the tribute and share my screen, I've been reading this book here. Black AF History. And while reading it, I came upon something that I just thought I wanted to share. Some of you probably have already heard of this, but there's this term back in the day in the 1800s that these people came up with called Drapetomania. I don't know if you've heard of that, but Drapetomania. Drapetomania was a supposed mental illness that in 1851, American physician Samuel A. Cartwright hypothesized that the cause of enslaved Africans fleeing captivity. This hypothesis was based on the belief that slavery was such an improvement upon the lives of slaves. Only those suffering from some form of mental illness would wish to escape. Cartwright specifically cited the tendency of slaves to flee the plantations that held them, since slaves, happy with their condition, would not want to leave. He inferred that such people had to be sick, impervious to the natural natural order of things. Now, if that ain't sick, I don't know what is.
Come on.
Lay it out, lay it out.
Okay, so we're going to share my screen now. And this is the one. We're going to share. And we're going to now uh-oh. Okay. Good. I thought I had. God dang it. Oh boy, here we go again. All right, I'm gonna have to do this. Okay, so we got to go here. Yeah. And go. I thought I had it all set. I'm sorry, y'all.
You do, we got you, we overstand.
Okay, yes, please.
It happens to me all the time. It happens to me all the time, Brother John.
Okay. Here. So, what the heck? All right, what's happening here? All right, I'm so sorry. This is, okay, back here. Desktop.
We ain't going nowhere. We got chapter.
What? Okay, give me a second here. I'm gonna stop sharing for just a second here. And go back to well, okay. And oh, there we go. Now I'm going to share again. I'm going to get back there. And you can see my screen now, blank, right?
No, we still see you.
Just see me. Oh. Here, okay, share. All right. There we go. Now you see it, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Boom.
Yeah. Right on, bro. There's no sound, Brother John.
Uh-oh. Sorry. Stop. Go back. What did I do wrong? Oh, I forgot to hit those two share screen again. Where we at here? I'm gonna stop share again. Got to go back and start all over. Forgot to click these two buttons here. There we go. All right. And okay. Okay. And you can see the blank screen now, right?
Yeah,
No? Are you not seeing?
I gotta put them together.
Screen share. Okay, we're sharing the wrong one. I can't see which. Just hate it when stuff go wrong. Okay, we're going to make sure we got that share. Sharing that screen. Sharing. Now you got the blank screen, right?
Yeah, whoa.
Yes.
We're there.
Yeah.
Get it down now. daybreak on Sunday, September 9th, 1739, 20 Africans gathered at the Stono River, about 20 miles from Charleston. At least 19 were Angolan, and their acknowledged leader was a man named Jimmy. Despite being thousands of miles from the West African region where he was born, Jimmy had a warped familiarity with the environment. The climate, soil, and topography of South Carolina were similar to his homeland, as were the people. At the time, only 15,000 of the state's 45,000 citizens were white. So even in America, Jimmy was surrounded by black faces. His status as a warrior, a fearless leader, and a fellow African convinced his co-conspirators that they could overcome all the wrath and retribution that all the white gods could summon. They had the power. Before his capture, Jimmy could not have fathomed such an inhumane institution as the enslavement system that lay beyond the horizon of the African coast. Even though there was slavery in Africa, America's version was intergenerational, unending, and, by definition, reduced humans to a form of animate chattel. Although he was now a bondservant who was likely literate in at least 3 languages, including English, Portuguese, and his native tongue. Some historians believe Jimmy probably served as a Congo or Angolan warrior who was captured and sold during an incursion with a neighboring kingdom. He was likely trained in combat, strategy, and the tactics of war. Jimmy was a leader. He was a man. He was a human being. Above all, Jimmy was not a slave. Plus, Jimmy knew things. Jimmy knew that a recent malaria outbreak had decimated Charleston. His linguistic flexibility allowed him to communicate without fear of the uneducated white men who knew nothing of rice or cattle. This ability to speak Portuguese meant he probably understood the Spanish agents sneaking through plantations, spreading rumors that enslaved people could be free if they could make it to the free black community of Fort Mose in Spanish Florida. Jimmy, the rebel, knew that the healthy white Charlestonians would be in church on Sunday for the annual feast of the Nativity of Mary. He knew a just God would eventually give him freedom. He knew the white man never would. But Jimmy could not wait for God or white men. He didn't just want to be free himself. Jimmy wanted everyone to be free. And Jimmy had a plan. Jimmy's crew met before daybreak on September 9th, 1739, and knew exactly where they were going. After crossing the Stono Bridge, they broke into a hardware store. They executed the 2 shopkeepers, decapitated them, confiscated the firearms, and kept things moving. The group proceeded to the plantation owned by the Godfrey family, killing the owner and his 2 children. When they arrived at Wallace's Tavern before dawn, they didn't murder the innkeeper because, according to Jimmy's co-conspirators, Wallace was a good man and kind to his slaves. He would be the only white man spared.
By daybreak, the makeshift army had traveled only 3 miles of the 150 miles to Fort Mose, and yet the group had doubled its size. Their newly emancipated cohorts had joined voluntarily, while others were conscripted into teaming up with the rebels to keep the news from spreading. By 11 o'clock, somewhere between 60 and 100 Africans were on the prowl, flying a banner, playing drums, dancing, chanting, "Liberty, liberty, liberty." People who were lucky enough to escape the group's wrath reported that the rebels were drunk, unaware that war dancing was a form of communication in the West African military tradition that had survived by embedding itself in the Gullah Geechee culture. By late afternoon, after traveling 10 miles, the troops passed in an open field before crossing the Edisto River, likely calculating that word of their previous handiwork would cause other enslaved Africans to join their ranks during the night. They weren't worried about being caught. They had killed every white man who laid eyes on them, except for one, who they spotted just before noon. They had chased him, but he was on horseback and escaped. Unfortunately, the one guy who got away was William Bull, the lieutenant governor of South Carolina. When an impromptu white militia summoned by Bull found the self-freed slaves, a battle broke out. 20 whites were killed, and at least 30 of the black militia died, while others were captured, imprisoned, and interrogated. The murdered insurgents were decapitated and their heads affixed to posts entering the city, a practice that would become an American tradition. The incident inspired fear across South Carolina. For months, wives and daughters of slave owners were moved out of the state. The state assembly raised a special patrol along the Stonewall River and offered rewards to natives if they captured escaped Africans. But their efforts were largely unsuccessful. One of the initial 20 leaders remained at large for at least 20 years. The incident inspired fear across South Carolina. For months, wives and daughters of slave owners were moved out of the state. The state assembly raised a special patrol along the Stonewall River and offered rewards to natives if they captured escaped Africans, but their efforts were largely unsuccessful. One of the initial 20 leaders remained at large for at least 20 years. The Stonewall Rebellion changed the face of slavery in the slave capital of the world and, by proxy, in America as a whole. Blaming the violence on the fact that these rebels were born in Africa. In its wake, white entrepreneurs formed a new industry by creating American-born slaves. Masters encouraged reproduction among the slaves they already owned, while slave traders traveled the country, buying human beings from estate sales, auctions, and embedded enslavers. Perhaps the most significant legacy of Jimmy's War were the draconian measures the legislature put forth to replace South Carolina's 1696 slave code. The post-Stonewall legislation forbade slaves from growing their own food, earning money, learning to write, gathering in groups of 3 or more. It prohibited black males from traveling together in groups of 7 or more without the presence of a white man. It also gave owners the right to kill any enslaved person who was rebellious and went as far as to regulate which colors and fabrics an enslaved black person could wear. It was a legal code of complete and total oppression. because white people were the minority, South Carolina's white population used cruelty as a tool to suppress their worst fears. Nearly every state's laws governing the enslaved were based in part on the Negro Act of 1740, proving that the uniquely American version of human subjugation was never just a thoughtless experiment. It was ingrained in the fabric of America. It was intentional, a color-coded, never-ending, legally protected, constitutionally enshrined system of human trafficking that extorted labor, intellectual property, and talent in the most brutal way imaginable. It was born out of fear and white supremacy. And yet, with all the enlightened philosophies, whips, and muskets this country could muster, it still could not make a slave.
That's right, brother. That's right. On the move.
There's been so many things that held us down, but now it looks like things are finally coming
Right,
around.
whip his ass. Whip his
I
ass.
know we've got a long, long way to go, and where we'll end up, I don't know. But we won't let nothing hold.
Ashe.
All right. So we're back, right?
Yes.
Brother John,
Oh, yeah.
Brother John, it took you a minute to get started, but genius is worth waiting for, brother. That was genius. Thank you very much for that, Judy. Thank you very, very much. And there's a name now that I have to.
What we got?
There's a name now that I have to add to my triumph of Gabriel Prosser, Nat Turner, and then Rock Basie, and that's Jimmy from the Stoner Brothers. Jimmy. Right on, brother. Thank you very much.
Oh, Jimmy Mack.
Jimmy Mack.
Hey, call me back.
And now we're gonna have more music from the sounds of Maat.
Hey, oh,
Can't hear him.
There's good and bad things about the South.
They can't hear, David. They can't hear.
Oh, okay, that's on me, that's on me, that's on me. That's on me.
All right, okay.
That's, it's good, it's good. Way back home.
Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, there's good and bad things about the South. Oh, and some leave a bitter taste in your mouth. Like right from across the track. White man on the other side holding
I'll just come off.
Oh, there's good and bad things about the South. Yeah, and some leave a bitter taste in my mouth.
Sing it, song.
Like white man living across the track. Black man on the other side trying to pull me back, way back home. Oh, but we won't talk about that 'cause it's understood. Everybody sees the bad, but what about the good? I'm talking about way back home. I'd give anything to smell the scent of honeysuckle growing on a backyard fence. Way back home. Way back home, way back home. Oh, I wanna be way back home, way back home. Way back home. I'd love to smell the wetness, the grass and the trees, and see the ground kissed by a honeybee. About my childhood days, way back home. Oh, way back home, way back home. Yeah, I wanna be way back home, way back home. My childhood days are dead and gone, but sometimes the memories linger on, way back home. Oh, there's good and bad things about the South. And like I said, some leave a bitter taste in my mouth. Like black man living across the track, white man on the other side holding him back, way back home. But we won't talk about that 'cause it's understood. Everybody sees the bad, but what about the good? Oh, I'd give anything just to smell that scent of honeysuckle growing on a backyard fence, way back home, way back home, way back home. Junior Walker. Junior Walker.
Oh, really?
Junior Walker, yeah.
Walker and the All-Star.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought it was the Crusaders. And that's some lyrics.
Yeah, yeah.
No, no, he was singing it.
Funny how they go right with the song.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, 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 yes. Sounds of my aunt.
Yes, yes.
Brother Ty stepping in, ad-libbing some verbal work there. Very nice sound. And it's been a very exciting morning, and you know we've shared a lot of things with you, and there's still more to come. There's still more to come because Professor Maynew is in the house, and he will be coming forward later. We'll have more to say about that later. I'm here for the Litany of Sacrifice. And this morning's inspirational reading comes from one of our sacred books, The Destruction of Black Civilization by Dr. Chancellor Williams. Dr. Williams made a point of dedicating this book, The Destruction of Black Civilization, to us, the boomers. And in his in the foreword of the book, under the dedication, he says, to the Black youth of the 1960s for beginning the second great emancipation, the liberation of our minds, and thus changing the course of our history. And that certainly has been the direction of the Wosei community, because we rely heavily upon this book, The Destruction of Black Civilization. And then in the final chapter of the book, The Shape of Things to Come, Dr. Williams says, economic development activities are direct survival activities, the means of existence, helping to provide the means of existence. It is as simple as that. The main goals of a great unity movement can never be reached unless the organization has its own self-generating financial resources to protect, defend, and promote the interests of the race. Organizations must be subsidized by government and foundation grants to exist or not in an independent position. And that's been the direction of the Wosei community. We do not take government grants. We are self-sustaining. And so that's why we come to you each week and ask you to contribute to this organization, to contribute to this work. And we ask you to do it for the work that we present to you. The things that you get in a couple hours at the Wosei community, you can't find in many other organizations. And so we know that what we do here and what we share has worth. And so we asking you to recognize that worth and to make a contribution, make a donation for this work to continue. And if the litany of sacrifice can be posted, we can all share in that. And let us all recite together. This is a unison portion. With me. Save us, O Holy One, by your
By your
name.
name,
Vindicate
us by your might.
Hear my
prayer,
protector.
and protector.
Listen
To the word of my mouth.
How
How
can we thank the Holy One for the gifts that have been given to us? We will lift up the cup of salvation and call upon the God of our ancestors. We will fulfill our vows to our Creator in the presence of all our people. Gladly we bring our sacrifices to you. We will praise your name, for it is good. Umoja, unity. We shall strive to maintain unity in the family, community, nation, and race.
Kujichagulia, self-determination.
Okay. Yeah, our unison was a little shaky there. Maybe we can do better on the next one. Ujima, collective work and responsibility. We shall build and maintain our communities together. Our brothers and sisters' problems shall be ours to solve together.
Together we shall build and maintain our own businesses and together profit from them.
Nia, purpose. We shall make our collective vocation the building and development of our community and the restoration of our people to our traditional greatness.
As much as we can. And beneficial than when we enter.
Imani, faith. We will believe with all our heart in our God, our community, and
righteousness is victory of our struggle.
Ashe, Ashe, oh. Okay, with that being said, as you prepare your contributions, there are several different ways of making a contribution. And yes, the address is corrected and is before you on the screen. The Wosei community, you can go to woseicommunity.org. There are tabs there that will accept your donation. The Wosei community, you go to woseisac.org, and they have tabs that will accept your donation, and they have various digital apparatuses, cash apps, and things of that nature that can also accept funds. And if you choose to send by mail, the address is also there before you, 8924 Holly Street, Oakland, California, 94621. And P.O. Box 5271, Sacramento, California, 95817. And we would be happy to accept those donations and to put those to work in the most appropriate and in the best way that we have found to do with those resources, mainly in the maintenance of our building here. You know, this building houses our school, so we have to maintain it in a certain state and to certain standards. So a lot of our resources goes into the maintenance of our buildings, the insurances, utilities, and things of that nature. And the various other services that we do throughout the week, it's really from the ministers and the elders and others. We do not collect a check here. All the elders and the ministers serve without pay. We do it for the love of the community. And so all of the donations that come, it will not benefit any one individual, but it goes into our movement, our program, so we can continue to grow and expand. And so I'll just close out with a short prayer. Holy One, divine creator, giver of all things, we thank you for our lives. We thank you for the opportunity to come together, to share our stories, to praise and acknowledge our ancestors, to learn from one another, to develop community and spiritual elevation. We do not take these things lightly. We thank all of those who gave donations, all of those that shared their talent and shared their time here at the community. We thank these individuals. Many of them are long-serving members of the Wilson community. And so we're very grateful, we're very thankful for their work, their commitment, and their dedication. Ask you to prepare yourself and prepare your hearts and mind for the one that will come with the message. And as I close out the prayer, Ashe, and Amen Ra, Ashe, and Amen Ra. And this morning we are particularly thankful. We are particularly pleased to welcome back, welcome amongst us one of our own. Professor Maynu is a member of this community. And so we always are pleased to have him in the house. He always comes with new and fresh information. And it's a lot of things could be said about Professor Maynu, but for those of you that's in the audience that may not be as familiar with him as we are here, you should know that he graduated from Morgan College in History and Africana Studies, that he's the current department chair at Contra Costa University there, Contra Costa College. And he's the chair there, and he's been a chair in that department for a few years and has made some significant changes. He seems to work all the time. He's always on the go. Last year, I had the opportunity to travel to Africa with him as a part of a group study tour, and I can say it was one of the most enlightening and one of the most invigorating aspect of my life. But this year, he's back, freshly back from Kemet in Ethiopia, and I believe also he had a chance to go down into the Sudan, which is where Professor Maynu does so much of his work is in the Sudan. And this is what Dr. Williams suggested in his book. There's scholars that would come behind them that would engage further and deeper into this work. And this is what Professor Maynu is doing. He's following in the footsteps of Dr. Williams. And so we're so very pleased that he is taking on this journey with the level of dedication and commitment that he has. And so I'm going to step off and allow Professor Maynu to come and to share with you what he has prepared for us today. And so let's welcome him, Professor Maynu Amp.
Good morning, Jose.
Good morning.
Good morning, good afternoon. I'm glad to be here to be able to share with you just a little bit of my work over the past 9 months. Actually, it goes back further than that, but just the most recent work. I was on the African continent doing original primary research, as Brother Katabazi said, in the footsteps of Dr. Chancellor Williams. And so he provided the framework. So I want to share with you what I've been doing in the field of Kushology. So I want to share some slides in order to make my point.
Kushology, way to go, my brother. I didn't hear it.
Okay, echo. All right, go. Okay, so I've coined the term Kushology. We hear about the term Egyptology, or for us, we're chematologists, so we say chematology. And since the 1960s,
It's coming from.
we hear about the term and we know about Nubiology, the study of ancient and modern Nubia. So people have looked at Kush, or what they were calling Ethiopia.
Maynu, excuse me. Can you turn off the sound on your computers? Okay.
So I coined the term Kushology to explain exactly what my work is in the field, because no one had defined the term. So Kushology deals with not only ancient Kush, which is the oldest of the classical African civilizations, but also the modern continuing practices in the living communities. So I don't know, it's off.
Can you mute it? I think you have to hit the mute on Zoom.
It is muted.
No, the audio.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So, okay, so anyway, so this is my my original work, and I just want to give you just a little overview, because this summer I was gone for 2 months, and it's one of the most profound experiences that I've had. As Brother Kanabaji said, I led a group to Kemet for a couple of weeks, and then a different group to Ethiopia for a couple of weeks on educational tours, and then after that, I went forward to do the original research. So I want to bring you Africa from an inside point of view and inside perspective to put all this in context. So Kush is the oldest of the classical African civilizations. So you have Kush, and then Nubia, and then Kemet, so-called ancient Egypt. But very little work has been done on Kush. Most people think they don't know much about Kush, so they replace it with Nubia. Those are two different classical African civilizations, and you only know that if you're in the field to do the original work and research. The people in East Africa, they know about Kush as a concept, but they don't know the details. Kush is like a mystery. So the people, for example, they'll say that if they gave like an example, if a young lady's pregnant and doesn't know it until later on, they'll say that that's an example of Kush. It's not to know something. And so and they have in South Sudan, there's Kush Airlines, there's Kush Bank. So they use Kush quite a lot. Among the Kansu in Ethiopia, they named the children with names Kushe, Kusho. It depends on their rank in the family. So people embrace Kush. They know they speak a Kushitic language, but there's no specific details. So when I'm in the field, people are absolutely excited, and now they've made my project as if it was their own. And I can say that this year I was stunned at the level of enthusiasm in one community after another.
Yes.
Regarding
Yes.
ancient Kush. So I coined the term Kushology some years ago to define this study of the classical African civilization of Kush. Notice I said classical. That's different than ancient. Ancient means old, but classical means something far more important. Classical means the highest rank, the highest value, the highest class. Classical means the standard, the model, the guide by which everything is judged.
Yes.
It's the foundation. It's the prototype. So we say classical African civilizations deliberately, not simply ancient. Kush is the oldest of those civilizations. So I always have to give credit to African civilizations who wrote about what they called Ethiopia, but they're referring to Kush. The Greeks changed the name. So Ethiopia is not an African word, it's a Greek word, which means burnt face, black face, or kissed by the sun. It means a man with sunburnt skin. The Greeks were fascinated by color. So anybody that says that race or color wasn't important in antiquity, what I always ask people to do is tell them to shh, tell them to stop spreading misinformation. Of course, color was important. They were fascinated by color. That's why they use the term Ethiops or Ethiopia. So these are some of the authors, as you can see, Drusilla Dungy Houston in her profound work, The Wonderful Ethiopians of the Ancient Kushite Empire. There's John Jackson in his seminal work, Ethiopia and the Origin of Civilization. And then you have the great scholar himself, William Leo Hansberry, who didn't write. His students compiled his notes. William Leo Hansberry is one of the most important scholars. So his students took his research notes and his lecture notes, and they created the William Leo Hansberry African History Notebook. But he's focusing on Kush. He translated from Latin, from Greek, to look at the original evidence. But it's as Brother Katabazi laid out, There's nobody more important than the great Chancellor Williams, not because his book, The Destruction, is a canon for Wolsey, but because he did research among 105 different language groups and 26 different countries in Africa in the 1950s. He's a researcher's researcher. So when I looked at Chancellor Williams, he promoted the idea that we must do work in the field. We have to do the field work, the primary research, but he also challenged future historians. He said he only scratched the surface, but it'd be future historians that would take the work forward. When he said future historians, guess what? I took it personally. It was a personal mission. So I changed future historians to Manu and Pim.
All right.
Yeah, that's what I did. That's exactly what I did. You missed that? Yeah, so let me go back. So in case you missed that, future historians, we changed it to Manu and Pim, and that's exactly what I've been doing now for 35 years without compromise. So it's important. So when I started in the north in Kemet, I recognized I needed to continue to go up south, not down south, but up south. When you're in the eastern part near the Nile River, you're going up south. The hills and mountains are in the south. So based on Chancellor Williams's work, based on my own field work, I recognized that this is the area of ancient Kush that we can clearly document. It extended over a very large region. The heartland of ancient Kush was in current day Sudan. But not only there, but in South Sudan, Egypt, Ethiopia, Eritrea, Djibouti, and across the Red Sea into Yemen and Saudi Arabia. This is the area of ancient Kush, and there's been little to no work that's being done at all on Kush. Scholars don't know. People don't know. So that's what I've been pursuing now for some years. So this is the area, this is the broad area, by the way, that I've been doing original work to learn more about ancient Kush, but also the modern living cultures that still practice the Cushitic life ways. They still do, even if they don't know about the old practices. So this is the greatest builder in the history of Kush, Taharqa. Taharqa was the single greatest builder in the history of Kush. But he's become a distant memory now because people know about Kush as a concept, but not the details. But I always highlight Taharqa because he built up and down the Nile Valley. Everywhere we look, there's a DNA, there's a fingerprints of Taharqa, the greatest builder in the history of ancient Kush. And so this is why we honor great builders like Taharqa, the great king. They were building for eternity. There's far more pyramids, by the way, in Sudan than there is in Kemet. There's twice as many pyramids. So I've done a lot of work in Sudan, but I recognize I needed to continue to go up south to South Sudan, to Kenya, to Uganda, to look at and find and document the roots of ancient Kush. So the pyramids are very powerful. They're very important, but the region has so many monuments, so many ongoing living cultures. So we look at Aksum, where they were building on an extraordinary level. There's still more work to be done in Aksum. And I'm glad to know in Ethiopia now people are beginning to teach Ge'ez. This is the root language of Amharic, the modern language. But Ge'ez has the keys. It opens up a lot of doorways. So Aksum, very important. So, but it's not only in Aksum in the northern part of the country. Aksum is in the northern part, but the southern part of Ethiopia. This is the northern part, but the southern part. So the southern regions where the living cultures are, you don't find monuments in the south, but you have the living culture, the living communities that are very remote areas. So I started in the special region, but this year I expanded to Gambela. Couldn't go to Gambela in the southwest area before because of the conflict. I was there, there's 5 different groups in Gambela. So our work next summer is going to be to create a documentary of these 5 groups because they link to the distant past. And if you look at images like this, for most people, almost everybody in the world, this is a mystery. They don't know who the people are. They call them Nilotics. Well, they all are in the Nile. What do you mean Nilotics? They're just making up terms. Also, when someone doesn't know something, they just call them Nubians. This has nothing to do with Nubia. So these black skin, super black skin, double black, amazing black, wild black, stunning black, these black skin Africans, it's been a mystery. And so people just say they are Southerners or Nilotics. But I've been on a pursuit to find out exactly what groups we're talking about. And if you look at the features here, you look at not only the dark skin, but take a look at the cowhide. You see the kilts that they're wearing, and you see the linen, you see the earrings. Notice the hair. These are not wigs, this is hair. Notice that it's red and yellow. How does it get to be that color? Good question. I'm glad you asked that. The hair becomes that color when they use cow urine. Usually about 5 days, the hair begins to change color. And this is an antiquity. We're looking at images over 4,000 years old, and they continue to do that today. This has nothing to do with Nubia. Nubia is just a catch-all word for people who don't know anything. They just throw the Nubian label on. Nubia is a great civilization, but when we're looking at these groups, this has nothing to do with Nubia. And not only that, but take a look at the ostrich feathers. You see that? Look at the children. You see the details. So we can begin to specify exactly who these people are. We don't have to guess. So it's always amazing when I'm in the field to show these images to elders and chiefs and heroes to get their input. And many times they scribe, they've never seen the images before, but they can give exquisite details of images that they've never seen before because they know that's them. These images, I can, as a Kushologist, now identify who these people are. Notice the beautiful linen outfit. You see the sandals. Take a look at the crowns. These are Kushite princes. You can go online and somebody will say these are Nubians. This has nothing to do with Nubia. These are Kushite princes, and the name in the text says Kush. But not only that, take a look at the far left. You see the arms of an assistant. He's holding rings of gold. But not only that, do you see the leopard skin? Yeah, the leopard skin outfit. So the leopard is the most important big cat in the region. Folks in the West have been misinformed. We think it's the ambassa or the lion. No, it's universally it's the leopard. They have the far more respect for the leopard, but you have to press them to figure out why it is that they use the leopard for ritual and ceremony. If you don't go deep, they'll say we use the leopard skin for the most important rituals because they like the coat of the skin. So it's got to be more than that because cheetahs are also in the area and they have a beautiful coat too. So tell me more about it. And so for them, the leopard is very special in the entire region. So this is what I've been pursuing is to figure out exactly their ideas. Why the leopard skin? We see it in antiquity. We see the current practices also today. So for example, when I'm in the most remote of all of the regions, I mean places where you can drive no more, there's no more road, then it's nothing but a deep hike into the village. And when you get to the village and the chief's house is in the middle of the village, a 30-minute power walk from the end of the road. This is amazing. So here, this is a DZ chief. And when I was asking details about the leopard, and they say the leopard is a very special animal, very special. And so he went into his compound and he got the leopard skin. You see the teeth there?
Okay.
And this is an actual,
Skeleton.
this is actual leopard skin. And by the way, whoever is the special hunter who can, first of all, you can't do it alone. It has to be a tracking team. They have to track the leopard and it has to be experienced hunters. Very difficult to track, hunt, and kill a leopard. Whoever does that, they're considered to be a hero. And some of you have heard the term, I've heard it here in the States now. The term that's used is, how many of you heard the term Jegna? You've heard Jegna, some of you. So these are special heroes that represent the best of the culture. Those that protect and promote the culture, who promote the tradition. These are the ones that are elevated in these societies. And every single group has a different name for Jegna. But here in the West, we thank those who have introduced Jegna, but we have to correct some things. Jegna is for a male. Jegnit is for females. So there's no such thing as a female Jegna. They're Jegnit, Jegnit. So I have a whole list of what each group calls their special heroes. These are the ones that we now learn. We can't just talk to the translators. We have to talk to the most special people in the society. As my colleague Ando Alam says, that the translators and others, they have broken knowledge. Or not knowledge, broken information is what he calls it. So rather than just going through the translators, we only talk with chiefs, kings, elders, and heroes. That's it. because they give exceptional insight. So I was in Ethiopia meeting with a lot of the special people, also the Desinage. They're on the border between Ethiopia and Kenya. And the Desinage, you see the man, this is the demi ceremony. This is the rites of passage for girls, for young girls. And they're performing the demi ceremony, the rites of passage into adulthood. This was very special to watch and record and document this because it's always the leopard skin. It's always the ostrich feather, which they say is a holy bird, a special bird. They have such detailed, intimate knowledge. It's almost as if they have them in a closed area for scientific observations. Like, how do they know this about the bird? And here you see these brothers. This is the ostrich. This is not their afros. This is an ostrich here, feathers on top of their head. You see that?
Yes.
And the leopard skin. And these are brothers that, and by the way, those in the South, they're not genetically, they're linked to those in Uganda, Kenya, South Sudan. They're not linked to those in the North. So a lot of the Ethiopian brothers and sisters here that you see, they're from the North. They're not from the South. You rarely would see anybody from the Southern area. This is the other Ethiopia. This is the Ethiopia that links directly to Kush. And it's a very remote area. And so as they continue with their life ways, it's amazing. So these, what keeps their culture intact is the fact they don't care about anybody else. They really don't. They don't care about anybody else. In other words, if you cross with your cattle in their area, they will kill you. So like this brother here, I was asking, you can't see it with this photo, but he has a lot of culture markings. Let's not call it scarification. It has a negative connotation. That's how white folks think. So instead of scarification, we call it cultural markings. He's got all kind of culture markings on, seeing what do they represent. And they said, well, for each mark that you see, he's killed someone. I said, okay, well, that's fine. Thank you very much. So I moved on to another set of questions. And no big deal. You cross the border, there's a price to pay. They don't care about anybody else. They really don't. They can care nothing about anybody else. So what you see is exactly what you get. It's their ideas that come from the distant past with little variations, because you see the same rituals and the same ceremonies that take place. Here you have the brothers on the right, the leopard skin, and on the left, the sisters have the colobus monkey. And also, you can't tell too much, but a couple of them have the ostrich feather. That's not just for decoration. That's somebody of extremely high status that goes directly back to classical Africa. That's why it's important to go to the field and check it out. Now, this year I did more extensive research in South Sudan. So I wasn't in Sudan, I was in South Sudan. Sudan, because of the war, since April of last year, you can't go. There's been millions of people displaced in Sudan. So I'm now spending more time in South Sudan. So I wanted to share with you the work in South Sudan. This is an article of my work in the Don. This is a daily newspaper coming out of Juba, the capital of South Sudan. And so here, this is the spearmaster on the right. He's one of the most important holy persons in the entire region of Lake State. So I went to Makur area, the Makur Gold. This is the most holy place in the entire region. And I didn't really know it at the time we were traveling, but there was a line of people trying to go to the shrine, but they didn't have enough of the offerings. So we left them. And, you know, I didn't know anything about it until later about why they were left. But this is the holy shrine here, and this is the spearmaster with the leopard skin outfit that you see on the right. So this was published in the local paper last month. And as it says, U.S. academic researchers in the Jing culture in Lakes State. So you know them as Dinka, they say Jing, it's Jing culture. So I spent time there, and I was in the most holy sites with the most sacred items that they took from the most important holy sites. And they did this because they made it very clear that it's important to bless my work. And so I was going from place to place, not even really thinking too much about it, but for them, it's very important. For them is to maintain their cultural lifeways and their spiritual system. So every place I went, there's the spearmaster, the priest, the spiritual leaders to make sure that the work is supported. This is another article that came out in actually the Richmond Standard. As you can see, Contra Costa professor, pioneer studies of ancient Kush. So with this article, they published a summary of my work, not only in the southwest part of Ethiopia, but also in South Sudan. And this particular photo here, there's about 5 or 6 photos in the article, but the whole community came out, and the man you see to the right of where I'm standing, he is one of the spiritual leaders with the staffs. It's very important. They don't do rituals without their staff and sacred objects. So the whole community gathered because this is one of the most important things, and they're very appreciative because they recognize that there's basically been nobody in the region to learn anything about their cultural life ways and their spiritual traditions. So the Jing or the Dinka, they've been totally energized. I didn't expect this, really. I really didn't, but the people are absolutely excited about this. Now, among the Dinka or the Jing, here you can see, if you take a look here, this is some of the writing in Dinka. So they make sure that all of the adults, the people learn Dinka, and they have books. And what I notice about the books is that these are African homes and African people. Most times you get books from USAID and everybody's lost their melanin. Yeah, you go to Nubia, everybody's lost their melanin. Not in this case. So this man here, he is showing that this, you may not, you see where right above where he's writing, it says Tong Jing, or the Dinka language. And to learn about the ancient ways that still continue today, you have to know the language. Like, for example, who knows the name, the capital city of Khartoum, well, that's another way. Khartoum is the capital city of what country? Sudan. Yes, so they were explaining that this is a Dinka word. So, so Khartoum is where the Blue Nile and the White Nile meet. So it's a place where something joins together. This is a Dinka word. They were explaining, means to join. And so from Khartoum, 2 Dinka words has become Khartoum, meaning the joining of the Blue and White Nile. So learning the language is a whole nother level of insight. And this is what he's explaining here, that this is what they do to teach the language. I gotta give the utmost respect to General Abraham. They call him Muzi, a respected elder. He's a Dinka elder who has taken on my project. And one of the things that he has done is he has so many contacts around the country. So it's a partnership. So I was able to meet with ambassadors, high government officials, people that are literally running the country. I have direct access to them because they want to make sure that I learn and are able to share the culture. This is part of his family. These are 3 of his sons and their wives. And what he did was, I might have shared this with you before, one of the things that the elder did, he organized 11 Dinka chiefs. These are all chiefs. And the 5 on the left, these are paramount or regional chiefs. And these regional chiefs, they all met. Now, Africans say that we're always late. Guess what happened? Guess what happened in this case? We had a meeting set with 11 Dinka chiefs. And then one of the brothers called me and said that he's ready to come pick me up, to take me to the location. I told him he was 2 hours early. And they said, no, I think we're ready now. I said, no, brother, call your father. I think you're a little bit early. Called his father and checked, and guess what? These folks were already there about almost 2 hours, hour and a half, almost 2 hours early. So I was quote unquote late, even though I was an hour early. This is how excited they were to talk about their culture and their tradition. These chiefs. So I was stunned. So when I started the interview, they stood up. And you know what they did? They stood up and they sang 2 songs. I asked the translator, what were they singing? They sang 2 songs that say that we accept your questions.
Wow.
And so it took me a while to get my camera. I didn't have my camera crew with me, so I had to get the camera ready to document this and record in video. So they stood up, and so we had the best discussion, and they talked about Dinka culture, things that they don't mind adjusting and things that are uncompromising. are not gonna compromise. And things are not gonna compromise, they made it very clear they will kill you. If you violate, this is why they maintain their tradition. So if a brother wants to sneak into the compound, have relations, he'll be killed. That's how it is. So you better be fast, you better escape. And guess what? She can go to his village. But you're not gonna disrespect, but they're reasonable. There's other things they said they had no problem adjusting and changing. So these, and by the way, the Dinka are, as a group, they're the tallest people in the world. So I love some of the, and you know, you see how dark they are, so I always have fun with that. And you see, I didn't include the picture here, but General Abraham is, you see him to the left, you see the shorter chief to the right. So the brother to, one of the brothers, he you know, I was asking, why is he so much shorter? So somebody came up with the idea that we took a series of pictures with he and I standing together. Because, you know, that's a great idea. So, so we have a whole series of pictures. So, yeah, but these guys are giants, to say the least, in so many different ways. And what I did, I had them take their hats off because I wanted to document. It's hard for you to see here. I would have to zoom in, but I had them their hats off so you can see the culture markings across their forehead. This is how we know one group from another. Now they all said they didn't mind changing that tradition, because sometimes with the conflict they can see somebody from another group and it's problems. Sometimes they said there's medical issues. They didn't mind changing that, but certain other things are not going to change. You know, so when I went north to Rumbek, this is what the article was covering, the Lake State, a little bit towards the middle part of the country. There was a tremendous welcome. I wasn't ready for it. As soon as we got off the plane, we were still on the tarmac, there was a greeting line of about 10, 12 people. And there's a greeting line, and by the time we shook everybody's hand. I was there with General Abraham. Next thing I know, a reporter was there to record why I was there and what was the mission. And this was actually published on the radio that night. Because the next day, as we were driving around, they were speaking to some brothers, and they wanted to know if that was the professor on the radio the night before. They said, yeah, that's him. So, but it was a tremendous welcome there. And I don't know if this will work, but basically there's really high level greetings to really respect folks. But I was going to show that there is, the women, they promote the culture, and it's a very powerful and spiritual welcoming that takes place right at the airport. I mean, literally. So I don't know how the connection is, so I won't try it, but it was just a video clip to just show you part of the ritual and the ceremony. And these are some of the brothers there in Rumbek who will help you see all the way on the far left. General Abraham. Matter of fact, the guys here are not that tall compared to the other guys. I'll show you one or two images. But these brothers are absolutely proud to be able to support in some kind of way, but the mission to maintain their cultural lifeways. They're excited by that. They're energized by that. And they're serious about it. They're absolutely serious. Here, this is in Shebeck area, and the man to my left, the man to my right, he's the chief and the spiritual leader. We're at a shrine. This is a shrine of his ancestors. And I talk with the elders. I have all of these different questions about their cultural lifeways. So we're in front of a shrine. He's giving specific details about his immediate ancestors. You see these totems here? This represents his ancestors. And so we did ritual ceremony as we did in all of the areas, by the way. And here he's, performing a particular ceremony to help protect and promote the mission. And so that's what he's doing here. This is doing a libation for purification, for protection, calling the ancestors to help support the work. And now take a look at, you see the brother here on the right? You can see the culture markings a little bit. You see that? So this is, they call it Gar, G-A-A-R, Gar. Gar is what they call it among the Jing, and Gar is what they call it among the Nuer, or they call themselves the Maat. They call it Gar. And to be more specific, they call it Gar Nome. Gar means just to cut. So Garnon means really cutting across the forehead. So when you look at these different groups and the cultural markings, it gives me as a Kushologist insight about where they come from. So for example, if you look at the tomb of Horemheb, that goes back more than 3,000 years. This is in Saqqara, where the step pyramid is. You'll see, do you see these images here? You see these men with the cultural markings? And notice that there's different stages of the cutting of the forehead. You see here, and these are usually 6. Notice the man here. Do you see that it's kind of healing, so you don't see it as much? This is a fresh cut. This is a fresh cut. But in the middle, you see that it's kind of healing. You all can see that, right?
Right?
Yeah, you can see that. So these are people from South Sudan. So the only people that use the culture markings like that, the Dinka, the Nuer, and the Mandari. There's no other groups. The Dinka, the Nuer, and the Mandari. But yet, people don't know they make up those. These are Nubians. There's nothing to do with Nubia.
Right, right. Come
So
on, teach.
some of the so-called best scholars in the world don't know much about what they're talking about. They're uninformed, and to be frank, they're ignorant. These are
All right.
ignorant
Tell the truth.
statements on a regular and consistent basis, and people pick this up, they duplicate and replicate silliness. The Nubians will have the culture markings beneath their eyes, like from Dongola, for example. They don't do the culture markings across the forehead, but you can see, going back to antiquity, you can see who the people are, because look at the culture markings, plus the hairstyle. Now, you know, and this is not a wig. They actually cut their hair back that way. The young people with yellow hair, red hair. So this is why it's important to do the field work. So when I started looking at these, it's like they're called Southerners. They're called the Nilotics. They didn't mean anything. Now that I've gone and spent time in South Sudan, we can identify exactly who the people are. So the culture markers are very clear. And again, take a look. Look at the different stages of the markings. You see the one front center? That's a fresh cut. The man who's second from the left and not quite as, that's blood. Yes. So the artists are very specific. This is why I can do the work and be able to link classical Kush with the current practices in the area of old Kush in places like Sudan and other places, or South Sudan, Southern Ethiopia. And that's why it's very important. So these are Nuer. You see the man here?
Yeah.
You see the culture markings. Again, this, who does this? The Mandari, the Dinka. So there's no reason to simply guess. And so you have people all in the village areas that have the culture markings. By the way, this is illegal now. The government in South Sudan has made it illegal. The chiefs, they agree. So you may not see this in 2 generations. It's going to phase out, but you do see it among most of the people, not all. Even the elder on the left, you can see it a little bit. You see that? But that was so long ago, he was younger. So it's kind of fading away. Now, I also spent time among the jelly people. This is where I was probably most surprised. I mean, they asked when was I going to visit them, and my guide said the morning. We didn't get there till late in the afternoon. And guess what? The entire community was there. And as soon as I got out of the van, I've never seen dancing quite like that. It was very powerful. So, and so they were absolutely energized to present their culture, because people know about the Dinka, they know about the Nuer, they know about the Shilluk, but they don't know about the jelly. So they were so excited that they said I was the first one that's ever come to their community to visit them. No one's ever come. So they had everybody out, all of the officials, all of the elders, the representatives. And this table is a bunch of gifts. People go to the jelly community because of the special honey that comes from there. So they gave me a couple, as you can see, containers of honey. This is in the white in the middle, that's for skin, but they wanted me to know all aspects of their culture. They were absolutely excited. And I shared with them my book, A History of African Civilizations, and informed them that I'm expanding the chapter on Kush to include these living communities. And that's what you see here. They're explaining these particular details. So Jeli. Yeah, Jeli. So, you know, and so it was a joyous occasion, not only the song, the dance, but one by one, they lined up to show me their culture markings on their face, on their arms. Many of them lifted up their shirt. They wanted me to see. They lifted up the shirt to show me the details of the culture markings among the Jeli. Yes.
The cultural markings, this is for men and women?
Yes, for men and women. Yes, everybody lifted their shirt up because they have it around their navel. So this is one of the most, so you know what, when I was there among the Jeli, this was so stunning. Usually to me, it's important. I know that. I don't take it for granted, but it's what I do. But this is the first time I said, wow, this is so important to them when they were one after one giving comments. I mean, political officials, local representatives. I was sitting there and said, wow, when I say something, I have to meet the moment. I never hit me like that before.
Yeah.
I actually have to meet the moment and represent.
Yeah.
It's just standard for me after 30 years, but that was a little different. It was a little different. So I said, wow. I mean, I never think about it. It's just automatic. That I thought about. Yeah, that this moment is never gonna come. I gotta say something meaningful. I gotta represent without compromise. I gotta go through my memory, just my practitioner memory, and say something that will last. And because they stayed literally all day, the Jeli community. And they said no one's ever visited them before, ever. And I told them that that's part of my work, is to learn about their culture, life ways, and to expand my section on ancient Kush, to represent living communities like these folks. We're absolutely proud about what they do. And now, some of you may know that sometimes there's problems in South Sudan, and people want to know, well, brother, are you safe? Well, let's be clear here. I'm more at risk here in East Oakland than I am in South Sudan. Hey, man, we gotta be serious about it. You know what I mean?
Come on.
You know, I grew up in the Fillmore. I live in Oakland and I teach in Richmond. I'm in the high risk group. You know, so I was going to another very important area, the area of Bor. You see that? You see Bor? The Jonglei state of Bor. And I was trying to, hey, let's go. It's a long drive. Then I figured out why we didn't leave on time. They wanted to make sure that there was adequate security. I wasn't really thinking about that. Yeah. But they wanted to make sure it was adequate security. So guess what? Before we left, General Abraham and the other folks made sure that I had personal security. A brother that actually is one of the people that protects one of the ministers in the government. Personal bodyguard. So they sent this brother here. So this brother. So they sent. And not only that, you see how big the guy is, right? But we were in the room waiting on the chancellor of one of the universities there in Bor. So the secretary came and said, you know, there's no weapons here. And I was saying, what is she talking about? So he got up and he pulled his weapon out. He said something, he gave it to her, you know. So you got a big guy strapping like that. But for them, there cannot be any problems or any issues. So everywhere I go, this is how people think. There's like extra security on top of security. And they're not there to play any games.
All right.
Seriously. So I laughed. I thought it was a good picture just to give you an idea of how they think about it. So anyway, so we went to board. These are some of the elders. Anyway, I can share a lot with you, but it's a very important mission, and for them, it is as important as anything that they can ever do to maintain their culture, their tradition, their language, and they're very serious about it. This is why in every single case, they wanted to make sure that I met the most important elders and chiefs and heroes, and spiritual leaders, spirit masters, but also to take me to the most important shrines as well. And so these are some of the elders, and their insight is exceptional. No one's gone there before to interview them, to link the past and the present. But that's what I'm able to do, to link the past and the present, because the ancestors from the past are not around. We can't interview them. We can't look at their ceremonies and rituals, but we certainly can look at the artwork, the rituals on the wall, and then ask these elders, what's your insight about this? That's the next level of the work. Look at the man on the left. He's the minister of justice in the country. Yes, the minister of the entire country of justice. So, and then on the right, you know what that is? This man he's the former vice president of South Sudan. He's the former second vice president when Sudan and South Sudan were linked. So I've had access to some of the most important people to get their ideas, their knowledge and wisdom about the current culture and how things have changed over the years. So anyway, I'm going to be leading some groups next year, so people can learn some of this, and from going to Kemet and also Ethiopia, but also I'm opening up South Sudan as well. So South Sudan is coming very, very soon to see and experience some of this important information. So this is in my book as I expanded the history of African civilization. So I just wanted to give you an update on some of my work over the last couple of months when I was in the field, and the work continues. So the next thing you'll see is a documentary of the field work in Gambella. And as we continue to go around South Sudan, then we'll lead tours and we'll go from there. So thank you very much. This is Introduction to Kushology.
Ashe, ashe.
Ashe. Amazing.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you, Wose.
Yes, yes. Thank you, Professor Maydew. And so, like I say, it's only at the Wose community you get this kind of information, this kind of sharing. So, and I'm very pleased to learn that the people in South Sudan are recognizing Professor Maydew, showing him some love, protecting him. So yeah, that's very rewarding. And so Professor Maydew also has an organization advancing the research, and his Nubian project is ongoing. So the brother has a lot of different irons in the fire, and all of it can use your support. So it's dear, you looking around for something to support meaningfully, then I recommend you check out Advancing the Research, Professor Maydew, and also remember what we do here at the Wose community as well. And so I'm gonna ask Minister Malley to do the invitation. He's very wonderfully attired this morning. So Minister Malley. Okay, so while the professor goes to relocate his car, Minister Ryan.
Once again, let us show a bit of appreciation. We got a opportunity to hear firsthand some information which I'm sure at some point will probably be on PBS or some other station that will appreciate and document what Professor Ampen has shared with us.
Yes.
Yeah, we got it firsthand.
Right.
And the challenge is also upon us to share it. One reason why he does the research he does, instead of just sticking it in a book somewhere, he's giving it to us so that we also make that connection between what is in the past and classical history that is active and alive. So let's keep it alive. Ashe?
Ashe.
So also at this time, here in the house, I can look out and see we're all members, but there might be someone online, someone who has seen us or heard it on Zoom that sees this community and say, hey, I want a part of this. I want to be a part of that. So at this time, the Wosay Community Church is opening the doors to members and folks who have an interest in joining us.
35.
Baba Tai, any hands online?
Not that I can see.
All right. So from that point, we will now begin the process of how we traditionally close our service. See any hands up there?
No.
Okay. So as always, I'd like to have Baba Tai come up and help us close. Did everybody stand as we get ready?
You know, it's time to lift every voice and sing. We got beat to it today. Let's see the musicians. Let's see if this works, y'all. It's gonna work. It's gonna work. All right. We're gonna move it.
So once again, as we come together, let us join together as one people,
One people,
faith,
one
one
faith,
unity, one hope, one
hope,
love, and one God. Let us call out and speak on that name that we commonly share from ancient times, from classical history. That name, Amen Ra. You are those beautiful people on the face of the earth. I say,